Get the word!
Man, every time we see the beginning of the show, that my old Cayenne going through the snow, I think of you and your freezing little studio there, partner Michael Deeb.
I know.
San Francisco is much colder than it is here in Las Vegas in the Container Park, where we are recording the show at the Rami studio, just like my hat says. So if you're ever in the Las Vegas area and you're downtown, come check out, come find us at the Rami studio. Just look for this logo.
And I will not be inviting you into the basement of my house in the Richmond district of San Francisco. One, it's creepy down here and freezing. Holy God, it's cold. It is. When I came down here this morning, before I turned the heater on, 53 degrees in the studio. It is an icebox.
You should have some meat hanging behind you. Welcome to the show, everyone. This is Bid Nerds. We are your daily nerd out on the most interesting car of the day from all the automotive enthusiast auction sites. We go through Cars and Bids, P-Car Market, Marked, and more. Bring a Trailer, of course.
Shiftgate.
We find that most interesting car, and then we have a conversation about that car. It's not always the most expensive or most rare, but it is the car that we think will inspire the most interesting conversation. And then we get to the fun part. We make a prediction as to what will happen with that car's auction. What will the result be? And will our bids be the correct bids? And you can play along. It's just like The Price is Right. Plug in your bid, and then we go to the end of the show. At the end of this episode, you will see if I'm right, if Michael Deeb's right, if you in the audience are right, and we are rarely the ones that are correct. It's usually our audience members that get it right. All right, Michael Deeb, the most interesting car of the day. We're going to get to that, but first you're going to plug our friends over at God and Porsche. Look at those guys. The logo's right above your head.
Absolutely. Yes. Look at that. Hey, what's up? God and Porsche. So God and Porsche of Las Vegas is the very first classic partner in North America. They have the experts that have been vetted by Porsche AG, actually. Porsche AG sets the guidelines for what can become, who can become a Porsche classic partner. And God and Porsche of Las Vegas was the very first one in North America because they have the passion, the experts, the parts, the know-how, and all of the cars that you might be looking for. If you have a question, if you have a need for your classic Porsche, call our friends at God and Porsche of Las Vegas. Tell them the Bid Nerds sent you.
Correct. All right. What is the most interesting car of the day, Michael Deeb? I don't know about this one. I guess it's interesting because of the platform. This isn't very interesting to me. What do you think?
Well,
what's going
it
on?
is
Why
because, all right, so here's this. So what we're talking about is a 2010 Ferrari 458 Italia on Doug DeMuro's site, Cars and Bids. John, I will say vehemently that this might be one of the first 458s he's ever run, because for the last 3, 4, 5 years that he's been operational, he hasn't gotten a lot of supercars on his platform. But man, he has endured and hung on and grown at an incremental pace till somebody just finally recently invested $37 million in the platform. And with all the buzz, he is starting to sell supercars. And so I thought this would be really interesting. We haven't done a 458 in a very long time. We tend to shy away from supercars because I don't think they're a reflection of our audience with regards to, the types of cars we all like to drive that we can, basically on layperson's income afford. But this car is really nice. It's one of the early years. 2010 might actually be the very first year the 458 dropped. This car has just 5,000 miles and is offered on Cars and Bids out of Charlotte, North Carolina. Now, I worked for Ferrari for a couple of years, and I can tell you just by looking at this car, this is a very pedestrian build. It doesn't have the optional wheels. It doesn't have a carbon fiber package. It doesn't have the racing bucket seats or challenge grills or any of that stuff that are typical on these cars when people build them. This kind of looks like the type of car a dealer might have built for themselves, and then something they could sell to somebody who walked in. Although at the time that 458s were being made, most of these cars were bespoke. They were all built for somebody. It's very rare that a dealer would buy a car that was just a strippy that he could sell to somebody that walked in. Most of these cars were pre-spoken for. But this car is a car that at least from the Ferrari parts catalog, doesn't tick a lot of boxes. Now, if you're not familiar with the 458, this was the first Ferrari mid-engine car to use a dual clutch transmission. It's a V8 behind the driver. It makes about 560 horsepower and about 400 pound-foot of torque. The car revs to over 8,000 RPM. But what makes this car so spectacular, so easy to drive, and so easy to live with is the gearbox. The predecessor to this car, the 430, the F430, Berlinetta and Spiders and those types of cars, all came, most of them came with a single clutch gearbox that was it had paddles, but there was a big interruption and a big lag between hitting the actuator and the car actually changing gears. With the DCT, once you press the button, it's like it happens almost electronically. It's just so lightning fast and so smooth. And that made a huge difference. Even though this car does make a significant bit more power, it's just the way the car drives that make it so wonderful to live with. Working for Ferrari in San Francisco, I got to drive this model car often. We even took people on test drives, and so I have flogged the snot out of 458s. They're one of my favorite Ferraris, and this one is just—it's kind of your basic bitch Rosso Corsa beige interior, not a lot of parts on it, but looks like it's been kept up in really nice condition, and it's got super low miles. And it's interesting because we're going to see how this kind of car does on Doug DeMuro's site, especially now in the honeymoon period of all the new attention that's on his site because he just made dues with the massive investment. So JP, I send this back to you. Um, it's not that you're not an Italian car guy. It's just that you're so heavily a German car guy. I know you owned a car that was very similar to this not that long ago because you had that really flashy yellow R8 Spider, which on paper with the V10 is really similar in output to what this car makes. They probably drive a lot alike. And you're not ashamed to admit you really like the way the R8 Spider drove and made you feel while you're behind the wheel of it. I would say that this car would make you sort of feel the same way. So, how do you feel about this bright red 458? What do you think Doug DeMuro is going to do with it here in the next couple of days?
Yeah, it is interesting to see the profile of cars kind of increase. It's rare that you see a car on his platform that's more than $100,000. Every now and then it happens, but this car is going to be obviously well over that. We just did a review of one of these on the Rami Show. The next episode. By the time this episode comes out, it might be on
That's
the
funny.
Rami Show. You go over there and
Wow.
check out Taylor's white one. Rami's impression on the car and mine is similar. They are great cars. There's no
Yeah.
doubt about it. I mean, it's a Ferrari, for crying out loud. But they are not dramatic in any way. This is absolutely a car that you could drive daily. They don't make a ton of noise unless you get in there and change up the exhaust. It doesn't, I don't know, man. For me, spending this kind of money on something like this, I kind of want more drama. And this car just doesn't deliver that, in my opinion. This thing almost to me kind of feels more like an NSX than it does a Ferrari. And this specific car, looking at some of these details, I'm a little concerned about. Look at the knobs and buttons and stuff
I
like
know.
that. There's some weird
Wear
don't
on
know
the
if
car,
it's
yeah.
dirty or worn. Was it a woman owner with this car?
That's what I thought.
Look at
I
this.
literally thought that. Yeah, there's a lot of scratches that makes you think that it's like it might have been owned by somebody who had fake nails and just scratched the heck out of everything trying to use all the controls in a regular manner because these cars did not have sticky button issues, at least not to my knowledge. I thought that stuff was well behind them by the time the 458 went into production. But this is an early car. And getting back to your question about the noise, and I'm imploring the nerd herd to fill me in here in case I'm slightly off on this, but the 2010s and the 2011s, I believe, not confirmed, actually had a program where the exhaust was louder, and they eliminated that for 12, 13, 14, and 15. And then I think the car went out of production like in 16 or by 16, something like that. I'm not 100% sure. But what a lot of people did is if you bought a 13, 14, or 15, you would bring it into the dealer and they could do a flash on the ECU that would program it to have the exhaust noises the way the valves would open at idle and revving and at low RPMs. Like the valve would open sooner. they would flash it with the 2010, 2011 program. I think that's the case. If not, obviously you can go aftermarket and get, some sort of cat bypass or change out the mufflers for sporting mufflers, and you will uncork this thing, because when they rev to 8,000 or higher, these cars sound like race cars. They are spectacular. But you're right. In just regular driving mode, if you're going to pick up groceries, JP, this is as docile as a Honda Civic. And it's interesting because while some of the drama might be lost, some of the theater might be lost, that practicality, I think, is what makes the car so special, is that you've got supercar performance, but in a truly livable car. And your NSX comparison is right on point with that, JP. It absolutely is. In the same year, if you had bought a GT3, the GT3 would be miles more dramatic with a manual gearbox, a louder exhaust, and a big wing on the back. This car is almost too slick for its own good.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, what do we think the value of this car is?
So I'm happy to report that at the moment, John, this car is at $170,000, and from the time we're looking at it, it's got about 3 days to close. Our friend Ilko, who's in the big figure in the Porsche Club of America, who lives down in San Diego, bought a similar car for himself a couple of years ago when the market was low. And I can tell you that where this car is priced at right now, Ilko probably did better than that for his 458, and he loves the car. But values have risen back up. Inflation could be part of that, and maybe the car has just experienced a weird lull when the third generation of the mid-engine Ferrari came out. But these cars are bringing more money than that today. So, JP, I'm going to go ahead and tell you that I don't quite think Doug DeMuro will get $230,000 for this car, but he might get 230. The seller might have got 230 or more if he had put it on BAT. So I'm going to go $229,000 with an asterisk and say that it's platform and not the car, and send it back to you. There could be another $50,000, $60,000 here for the consigner. And Doug DeMuro's doing better with this, but I still think if it were my car, I wouldn't choose Cars and Bids for a Ferrari. I would still go BAT. The low miles are a big selling point here. Red tan, yeah, that's what everybody wants. But, Ferraris in different colors are starting to get a premium the way Porsches have. So I don't think it's the color or anything like that, but the miles are going to drive it, and the platform is going to hold it back just a smidge. That's my opinion.
So what was your number? I'm sorry.
$229,000 for your long-winded partner over here.
Yeah, I don't think Doug has the poop to make this car happen either. And we always see, or it's very common to see auctions kind of stall out on Cars and Bids. We talk about that all the time. We don't see those crazy last-minute rallies that you see on BAT or even PCAR Market for that matter. The thing about this car, as beautiful as it is, you start to get over 200 grand. And now you have, look at that, guys. My little circle is right in the middle of the wheel. We didn't plan that.
That's funny.
This is a beautiful car. Don't get me wrong. But at $220,000, you can get a GT3 RS, like a .2 991, right? Which I think from a performance point of view is the way better car.
.2 997. Yeah.
I'm sorry. No. Wait, what year is this? No, I'm saying
2010.
I'm saying right now. I'm saying that for $230,000, you could easily get yourself a .2 991 GT3 RS. So which is a way better car, right? And actually the 2010 car that you just mentioned, an older one, a 997.2, also a better car and about the same price. The appeal of the Ferrari is for the baller, the person that says, okay, I'm going to spend that money. I want people to see those shields on the side, that yellow little prancing horse, and be able to say that I've got a Ferrari. But the Porsche is the better car. So this car, I think if you want a performance car, this isn't the one. But if you want the car to look like the baller and cruise down the strip, then this is the car for you. And because a lot of times with Porsches, the average Joe looks at a regular, Carrera and a GT3 RS, and they can't really tell the difference. It's just, one has a wing on it and one doesn't, and they don't really know, right? That the price delta is literally 3 times greater for the for the GT3 RS versus the regular one. So I don't know. And I think that's why I don't have the same respect for a car like this, because I think it really is just for the bling factor. So I don't know. You're saying 20? I've asked you a couple times already.
That's okay. 229,000, just under 230.
I'm just gonna be soft and park right underneath you. I just 220. I just don't. I don't know. I'm not excited about this, and I don't know if anyone is. I think that the people that do get excited about these want all the bells and whistles. It's a really astute point that that you made, that it's just kind of basic bitch, if there is such a thing for a Ferrari.
Yeah, the way this one is built is a little bit unfortunate. The guy that's in the market might want the option forged wheels and the carbon package and the challenge grills and the racing buckets and all that stuff. I know I certainly would. But we'll see what happens. Doug DeMuro's on this is the spotlight's on him, and he really needs to sell this car if he plans to get any more. You know what I mean? So it's real interesting to see a Ferrari on Cars and Bids. So let's see what happens.
People will be paying attention. What do you guys think of the results, or not results? I'm sorry. What do you guys think the result will be on this Ferrari 458?
Yeah.
I am very interested to see what the nerd herd has to say about this, because they tend to know better than we do. Yeah, show your steel. Put the minute mark when you put your bid in. Now is the time. And do that. If you haven't hit the subscribe, like, or notification button, now is the time to do that as well. We really appreciate you guys helping out in growing the nerd herd. Michael Deeb, is it time to talk about our friends at God and Porsche, and then we'll come right back and find out.
I did at the opening of this show.
No, I'm not saying talk. I'm saying go to the
let's go to the commercial. Let's let Steve Thiel do the talking this time. All right. Yeah.
See you right after this, guys, with the results of this 458. Hey guys, I gotta tell you about our friends Godden Porsche of Las Vegas and Godden Classic. If you're looking for a new Porsche or a classic, you gotta call our friend Steve at Godden. This guy.
1989 linen gray metallic G50 cab.
Is that gonna be for sale?
It is gonna be for sale. The car only has 65,000 miles.
Save yourself the hassle of screwing around with all the auctions like we always talk about, and just talk to Steve. He'll find you the classic Porsche you're looking for. Godden Porsche of Las Vegas.
If you love watching car videos on YouTube, you gotta check out my channel, The Rami Show. Oh, this car! I am driving a 2020 Lamborghini SVJ. This car, watch this. Oh! 115 mile an hour turn like it's nothing.
Have you guys checked out our sister channel, The Rami Show? We do weekly car reviews. The video right now, I think the most current one is my car, Rami. I let that maniac drive my personal backdate 911. Can you believe I did that, Deep? Is that nuts?
Yeah, actually, Yuri, I had breakfast with Yuri on Sunday, and he was talking about how fun it was watching that show. He actually really enjoyed it. He thinks Rami's hilarious. Rami is kind of like a cartoon character come to life,
He really is.
He really is. And so, for Yuri, he was like, he thought it was cool because he saw your car and that Rami reviewed it. He totally enjoyed it. I think that was like the first Rami show he watched. He says, I definitely have to watch more of those. I said, well, that might have been the best one. So they get worse from there.
Hopefully it gets even better. I don't know. Rami has calmed down. Like when he's driving his cars, it's one thing, but when he drives other people's cars, he's respectful about it. I mean, he drives them. But
that's good.
Honestly, I mean, I didn't want him to be, soft on my car. I wanted him to drive it, and he did. Yeah. And but he didn't I mean, it still worked when I got it back, so that's good. Usually his cars, whenever he drives any of his stuff, it breaks. So he got his Defender back. He has that crazy. If you go to the Rami Show, there's a video about his 750 horsepower, D90. And that car is in and out of the shop, and it just had a bunch of work done to it, and he got it back on Friday. We record this show on Mondays, and he picked me up from the studio, the Rami studio. He's like, "Oh, you gotta go take a ride." So I'm like, "Okay, well, on the strip." So I know he can't go too crazy. So we go on the strip, and we're driving. We get down to as far as the Stratosphere, which isn't very far from the studio. And of course, it broke down. It just stopped running. So who knows what's wrong with it? We were stuck on Cleveland and Las Vegas Boulevard, which is at the Circle K. That is well, let's just say that's a nice part of town. Yeah, everyone's like, yo, Jeep's broken, yo. It's like, oh, gosh. Okay, let's get out of here. It was a little sketch for a while waiting for the tow truck. All right, guys, you guys stuck around. We're here in the future. You want to know about the results of this 2010 458 Ferrari. What do you think of this bad boy, Michael Deeb? What happened?
All right, JP, this is my take, and it's only because of the experience I have with Ferrari, and I think it's the build. I told you when we reviewed this car that this was a real basic bitch build. This is a very light build by Ferrari terms. Ferrari has a term, I'm trying to say this with a straight face, they call it penetration, and what it means is that when the dealers get these allocations, their bucket of allocations, and they go to their client base and they try to fill them, I say try, they pick who they're going to sell them to. Ferrari expects, at least in the 458 days, that you're going to put like $25,000 worth of options on the car. Today, like a 296 GTB, they expect like $80,000 in quote unquote penetration. In other words, if the base price of the car is $300,000, Ferrari expects the average build from your lot of allocations, you should average $380,000 per unit that they go and construct out of Maranello. This car has nothing on it. No wheels, no sound system, no carbon fiber, no fancy exhaust pipes. I think it only had like shields or something, and that was it. This is a really thin build. So the result that I'm skirting around, I think is, and I can't believe I'm admitting this, John, not an indictment on Doug DeMuro or Cars and Bids. I think we're getting, decent action on his site at the moment because of, him being in the news and stuff. He got 20,000 views on this car. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't think Ferrari people are shopping on Cars and Bids, but I do think car people are shopping on Cars and Bids. But this result was light. So, JP, I really thought with 5,000 miles and the way 458s have been going, this car would see around 230 grand. So I said 229. You took the under at 220. Our car sold for $203,500 on 42 bids. That's the second highest bid total of last week. JP, you won that one, just like you won the SC Targa from the other day. So you're off to a good start this week. But I don't hold Cars and Bids accountable for that. I really think that's more a reflection that the car doesn't have anything on it. It's just somehow quantifiably less desirable because it doesn't have all the bells and whistles. In fact, this one doesn't have any of the bells and whistles. I think if this car was loaded with carbon fiber and had at least the optional wheels, that with those coupled with this low miles and the attractive Rosso Corsa and tan interior, this car would have brought more money. But no racing seats, no pick stitching. I mean, I think the only thing this car had were shields and navigation. That's weak shit. And so that number is light. If you're looking for a car and you just want to drive it and you don't care about how it looks, which is not the case with most Ferrari owners, this would have been a great grab because I think you would have saved 10% off of what the same car would have cost with all the things on it. So there you go. I'm defending Doug DeMuro. What has the world come to this week, JP? Please tell me we're dreaming.
I don't know. I think you're right. I mean, it's a low spec car, but if I were ever in the market for one of these, which is not likely, I would actually be kind of looking for something like this because, I'm cheap, so I like a value. And I think this is the way you could get into a really nice car. I mean, 5,000 miles. Obviously, it's in, near new, basically new condition with a few scratches around some of the doodads on the interior, which we mentioned before the break. But, I wouldn't feel bad putting some aftermarket wheels on this car and, putting some really cool carbon fiber Recaros in there or something like that.
Yeah.
And, messing with the exhaust. I mean, for, $20,000, you could be transformative on the overall look of this car. And it's still basically a brand new Ferrari. And you just put all the, the stock seats, wheels, suspension, and exhaust in your garage. And you go rock it.
Yeah, you put him in a shed on the back of 900 series lot, right?
Right. I
Just
mean,
wheels. Yeah.
he's Tony's got some of a bunch of my other stuff over there. Shout out to our
Uh,
boy Tony Mazzagatti, man. He totally hooked
Tony
me up. I had
Mazzagatti.
I have these GT3 996 seats sitting in his shed, and I'm trying to,
Taking up real
let
estate.
him go, and I thought I was going to put whatever. Long story. But he was cool enough to meet me on a Saturday. They're not open on Saturdays, and he came down and opened up his shop to give me the seats.
Yeah.
So that was really cool.
Shout out to Mrs. Mazzagatti for letting Tony run errands with you, JP.
Yeah,
On
she was
Saturday.
probably
That's-
like, "Yeah,
that's
go
her
go
time.
get the seats. Yeah, go get the seats." If she's anything like my wife, yeah, get out of here, go get them. Yeah, I don't know. What do you guys think of the results of this Ferrari? I think this is I like a value and I like an opportunity. Speaking of the Rami show, we actually just reviewed one of these. That'll probably be the next
Oh
video
yeah,
to
a
drop.
white one.
Yeah, a white
white?
Spider 2012.
White
So
Spider.
it's probably. I mean,
John, did you
by the
drive
time
that
this
car?
video goes out, it might be live. I didn't get a chance to
Yeah.
drive it. I didn't even ride
Oh,
in it,
man.
if I'm on it.
Oh, dude, I'm
So-
telling you, it is one of the great convertibles because, first of all, the engine and the exhaust make so much noise that it comes into the cabin. There's no wind. You're really well protected. It's a fantastic open air experience. But like, as I pound the table for coupes and you pound the table for cabriolets, this is a cabriolet that feels every bit as stiff and as tight and as incredible as the coupe. So why not move the roof out of the way? You're not giving anything up. These are
Yeah.
fantastic cars. They make unbelievable spiders. And so yeah, one of these days, John, you'll drive a 458 Spider and you'll be like, you'll get out.
I
and
have
be like,
no doubt that
"Damn,
I would love
Smith."
it. I just, it's just in that 200 something range. There's so many other options that I mean, that was kind of Rami's take. Rami got it. And when he was driving it and, I'm watching all the footage, obviously, because I've got to edit the film.
Yeah.
And, he was totally surprised. It's like, wow, this car really is great. I get it, because he's not a super big Ferrari guy. But, he did say when he brought it back, he's like, yeah, this thing is awesome. It's kind of boring though. It's just, if you want that drama, it just feels like that car isn't it, or at least you would have to mod it. And I think a few mods would probably be pretty transformative, but, our buddy Taylor, who lent him, the car for the video, he's kind of conservative in that regard. I don't think he's going to do much from a mod's point of view. His car sounds great though.
560 horsepower, JP, would turn you and me on our heads. It's Rami's the one person that car's not fast enough for. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, compared to his Lamborghini, it probably feels like a diesel.
Yeah, right. All right, guys. That was the most interesting car of the day, even though it wasn't of the most interesting Ferrari, that's for sure. What do you guys think of the results? Is that a Ferrari that you would kind of look for, or are you like, you would spend a little bit more money or just not get one? Do you think that the low dollar amount that this car brought was because of something Doug did on Cars and Bids, or do you think it was just because it was no spec? We love seeing your comments. Our boy Ross from New Zealand is the man. He's out there watching our other videos too. I saw him commenting on a Rami show video too. So it's nice to see the cross pollination happening there. So we've got
Rami's ours. He can't comment on the Rami show. That's our ticket. Right there.
Hey, if he does both, I'm all about it. Thanks, Ross.
I'm jealous. What's up, Ross? Where's the no fidelity? God dang. God.
So we're gonna make some swag here soon, and Luftkult is coming.
9.
Luft 9 is going to be in the Bear area, right near our good friend Michael Deeb. We're going to do some events. What's going to happen there that weekend, Michael Deeb? What's going on?
All right, so we want to invite the Nerd Herd to come play with us. We've got Ben, the professor out of Los Angeles, is actually from Marin County originally. I don't know if that's a secret. I don't think it is. But he has agreed to partner up with the nerds, and we're going to do a professor run, probably starting in South Marin, and we will probably head out over Mount Tamalpais and along the ridges through Western Marin and up, probably touching Sonoma. So we'll probably make our way up to like Inverness, well, probably past Inverness, but like maybe up to Bodega Bay and stop for lunch. And then those that need to head back can head back. And those that want to keep driving for a couple more hours into the early afternoon, will probably go like up to the Sonoma Coast, maybe come Skaggs Creek Road. I'm not sure what he's got planned, but it should be really fun. And then head back. And then that evening at the pit stop in Brisbane, California, we're going to have an invite-only open house after the Professor Run, after the rally in the evening. We'll have some food, some beer, some live music, and it'll be an open house at the pit stop. I don't even want to get into it, but these are incredible cars that you're going to see. Plus, all of the people that are coming back from the rally should be very Porsche heavy, should be really, really fun. So everybody that watches our show is part of this very select group of invite only, because we're going to probably limit it to like 40 or 50 cars. But I think the herd is small enough that those of you that are going to be in the Bay Area for Luft Colt, reach out to us and we'll get arrangements for you to get the lowdown and the skinny on the open house at the pit stop. That should be really fun. Thank you, Yuri, for arranging all that, and Ben, likewise.
All right, guys. Most interesting car of the day from all the automotive enthusiast auction sites. That's the Bid Nerds, and you just watched an episode. Thanks for hanging out. Hit the subscribe, like, and notification button if you haven't done already, and we will see you on tomorrow's episode.
Nerd!